Episode 7, The Pier. Lewis woke up a little late, just like every morning after a gig. When you're a music man, the morning is everybody else's afternoon. But that was okay because Mammy's kitchen was always serving breakfast. Lou was a surprisingly thin man. Even if he ate a plate of flapjacks, eggs, bacon, and coffee every day, he never seemed to put on any weight. Nor, the regulars sometimes remarked, did he seem to put on any years. The fellas in the band liked to rib him about it, how a man pushing 50 could still pass for 35, not a strand of grey in that slicked back hair. Lewis would only laugh and say clean living, though he knew it was no such thing. He had stopped looking too long in mirrors. The face that looked back was the same face that had married Gabrielle, and that frightened him more than he cared to say. After reading the paper, finishing his coffee and tipping the friendly waitress, he headed down to the boardwalk. If he could ever get here early enough for sunrise, it would be a peaceful place. But the crowds of mid-afternoon didn't bother Lou. He thought about an interview he had seen a couple of years ago with astronaut Alan Bean. Bean said that when he got back from the moon, one of his favorite things to do was to get an ice cream and watch people, because he was just so fascinated with the idea of life on this fragile little globe. Lewis felt that deep inside him. As he walked along the pier, his mind kept drifting back to the interview with Alan Bean. The astronaut's words had struck a chord with Lewis, resonating with his own love for people and the simple joys of life. Bean had talked about the profound sense of perspective he had gained from his time in space, how it had made him appreciate the preciousness and fragility of life on Earth in a whole new way. Lewis understood that feeling. As a musician, he had always been drawn to the human experience, to the stories and emotions that connected us all. He loved nothing more than watching people go about their lives, seeing the laughter and the tears, the love and the loss that made up the tapestry of existence. He paused for a moment, leaning against the railing and looking out over the sparkling blue expanse of the Atlantic. The ocean had always held a special place in Gabrielle's heart. She had grown up in a small coastal town in Germany, and she used to say that the sea was in her blood. They had often talked about retiring to Myrtle Beach one day, buying a little cottage where they could watch the sun rise and set over the endless horizon. But that dream, like so many others, had been shattered on a Vegas street corner, lost in a screech of tires and a sickening thud. Now all Lewis had left were memories and the constant ache of her absence. As he walked further down the pier, Lewis spotted a young teenage couple sitting on a bench, sharing an ice cream cone. They were laughing and talking, their heads bent close together, lost in their own little world. For a moment, Lewis just watched them, feeling a bittersweet mixture of joy and envy. He remembered what it was like to be that young, that carefree, to have your whole life stretched out in front of you like an open road, full of possibilities and promises. He hoped that these two would have more love than loss in their lives, that they would be spared the kind of heartbreak that he had endured. But even as he thought it, Lewis knew that pain was a part of life, as inevitable as the tides. It was the price we paid for love, for opening ourselves up to another person. And yet, watching these young lovers, Lewis couldn't help but feel that it was a price worth paying. Maybe that was the point, he mused as he walked on, to love deeply, even knowing that loss was possible, to cherish the moments of joy and connection, no matter how fleeting, to focus on the things that couldn't be taken away, the memories, the music, the love that lived on in the heart. Lewis loved people. He loved playing for people almost as much as he had loved Gabriel. Seeing that young pair of friends enjoying their ice cream on the bench, he thought to himself quietly that he hoped they would know more love than loss in their lives. The innocence of youth juxtaposed against the harshness of a world that can take away the thing you love most. Maybe that's the point, he pondered. That we need to love. but focus our love on the highest things that cannot be taken away. Lewis wandered down to the end of the pier, a path he had taken on many previous days, his mind filled with the same swirling thoughts and emotions. If he did not believe in God and in love, he might have considered throwing himself off into the churning waves below. But that just felt wrong, a betrayal of everything he held dear. Instead, his thoughts turned, as they so often did, to the worry stone that he carried in his pocket. The smooth, polished oval had been his constant companion since Gabrielle's death, a tangible reminder of their love and the void she had left behind. He had lost count of how many times he had stood at this very spot, turning the stone over in his fingers, thinking about hurling it out into the sea. Something deep inside him whispered that he needed to leave the past behind, to find a way to move forward. But each time, he had lacked the strength to let it go. Now, as he stood at the edge of the pier, the salt spray misting his face, Lewis felt that familiar urge rising up again. His hand drifted to his pocket, fingers closing around the worry stone's cool surface. He thought of Gabrielle, of her bright eyes and easy laugh, of the way she had filled every corner of his life with light and love. Even now, years after her death, he could still feel her presence, could still hear her voice on the wind. But he knew deep down that she wouldn't want this for him. She wouldn't want him to spend the rest of his days lost in grief, clinging to a ghost. She would want him to live, to love, to embrace all the beauty and wonder that the world still had to offer. Lewis closed his eyes, feeling the warmth of the sun on his face. He pictured himself drawing his arm back, throwing the worry stone with all his might. He imagined the weight of it leaving his hand, the splash as it vanished into the blue. But when he opened his eyes, the stone was still there, clutched tightly in his fist. He wasn't ready, not yet. The past still had too strong a hold, the memories too vivid and precious to release. Slowly, he slipped the stone back into his pocket, letting his fingers brush against its polished surface one last time. He knew that one day he would find the courage to let it go, to say goodbye to Gabrielle, not with sorrow, but with gratitude for all she had given him. Until then, he would keep on living, keep on loving. He would cherish the good times and weather the bad, knowing that both were part of the great, grand tapestry of human experience. Lewis turned away from the railing, squaring his shoulders against the weight of his grief. The pier stretched out before him, crowded with families and lovers and laughing children. The sun was warm on his face, the breeze soft against his skin. In the distance, he could hear the faint strains of music drifting from the boardwalk, the electric circus sign glowing like a beacon, calling him back to the stage, back to the music that had been his solace and his salvation for so long. He started walking back the way he had come, his steps slow but purposeful. He thought again of Alan Bean, of the astronaut's wonder and appreciation for the simple miracles of everyday life. He thought of the young couple sharing their ice cream, of the love and laughter that still filled the world, despite all the pain and loss. And for the first time in a long time, Lewis felt a flicker of something that might have been hope. The hope that one day the memories wouldn't hurt quite so much. That one day he might be able to look back on his time with Gabrielle with more joy than sorrow, more gratitude than grief. It was a start, a small step forward on the long road to healing. But it was a step nonetheless, and Lewis knew that Gabrielle would be proud of him for taking it. As he walked, he let the sights and sounds of the boardwalk wash over him, the laughter of children, the sizzle of frying food, the distant roar of the roller coaster. He breathed in the salt air, feeling it fill his lungs and cleanse his spirit. There is a cycle to the progression of time on the grand strand of Myrtle Beach. A cycle that seems to have no beginning or end. There are moments in which, regarding the teal water, warm sky, emerald shores, and salt air, one can feel lost within time itself. More than once, Lewis had been caught up in such a reverie and found that hours had passed while he had experienced but minutes. Lou could not help but wonder whether time is something we don't really understand. Not when it is a thing that we can become so lost in, like a fistful of sand cast into the sea. So Lou resolved to make his way back towards where he earned his biscuits and gravy. To the one place that truly felt like home these days. And when he finally reached the electric circus, its neon sign blazing against the evening sky, he indeed felt that sense of home. This was where he belonged, on the stage, guitar in hand, pouring out his heart in song. He'd seen the high rollers and the holy rollers, but it was the wood and the wire he trusted. Music was prayer. He pushed through the doors, nodding to Jeannie at the counter as he made his way to the stage. His bandmates were already there, tuning up and running through their usual pre-show banter. They greeted him with smiles and friendly jabs, the easy camaraderie of men who had shared countless nights of music and laughter. Lewis unpacked his guitar, running his fingers over the strings. He thought of Gabrielle, of the love they had shared and the music they had made together. He knew that a part of her would always be with him, guiding his hands on the fretboard, whispering in his ear as he sang. But he also knew that it was time to make new memories, to find new joys and new reasons to keep going. The world was wide and wonderful, full of possibility and promise. And as long as he had his music, as long as he had the love and support of his friends and his fans, Lewis knew that he could face whatever lay ahead. He stepped up to the mic, feeling the familiar thrill of anticipation, the electric charge that always filled him before a show. He looked out at the crowd, at the sea of faces shining up at him, and he smiled. "Good evening, Myrtle Beach," he said, his voice ringing out strong and clear. "We've got a real special show for you tonight. So sit back, relax, and let the music take you away." And with that, he launched into the first song, his fingers flying over the strings, his voice soaring out over the room. And for a little while at least, all the pain and grief and loss faded away, replaced by the sheer soaring joy of being alive and making music under the electric circus lights.